The great ship floated in the concert hall of the void. A gleaming crescent moon docked at the cultural exchange station known as the Nexus. Its inhabitants, the Eldoreth, were a species of sublime grace and profound artistic sensibility. Their music was said to weave the very fabric of space-time into intricate, melancholic beauty. Their delegation had come to share their culture, a gesture of interstellar diplomacy. But it was clear they considered humanity's creative output to be a charming, if primitive, noise dot in the main observation lounge, converted for the evening into a recital space. A gathering of species watched with polite anticipation. The Eldoreth envoy, slender and silver-skinned, had just concluded a performance on their shalarine, an instrument of light and crystal that produced harmonies which seemed to physically ache in the chest. The human guests, a select group of diplomats, scientists, and a few invited artists, applauded with genuine awe, feeling both enriched and subtly diminished. A human diplomat, eager to reciprocate, gestured to a corner of the lounge. "We have also brought a piece of our heritage, a traditional instrument. Perhaps you would allow our companion to play?" All eyes turned to the young woman standing quietly beside the object. She was a xenobiologist, not a musician, her expertise in nonverbal communication patterns making her a useful adjunct to the diplomatic team. The instrument was an old, lovingly maintained upright piano, brought from Earth at great expense as a gesture of cultural sharing. Its dark wood gleamed under the soft lights. The Eldoreth envoy's large, opalescent eyes blinked slowly, a sign of polite curiosity. "We are familiar with resonant percussion. Its structural principle is elementary. Please demonstrate its sonic capabilities." The young woman had not expected to play. She had only volunteered to oversee the instrument's atmospheric adjustments. But under the gaze of the assembly and the faint, polite condescension of the Eldoreth, she felt a strange compulsion. She had taken basic lessons as a child, decades ago, remembering only scales and simple, stumbling tunes. She knew she was no match for the artists present, but she approached the piano, her movements hesitant. She opened the fallboard, revealing the familiar pattern of black and white keys. It felt like looking at the face of an old, half-forgotten friend. She sat on the bench, the leather cool through her clothes. The room was utterly silent. Her first touch was a single note. Middle C, the sound was pure, solid, a foundational stone dropped into a pool of quiet. It faded, its vibration lingering in the air. She did not think of the audience, nor of diplomacy, nor of her own inadequacy. She thought only of the sound and the memory it unlocked, not of sheet music, but of a feeling of a blue earth sky, of the weight of gravity, of the quiet, hopeful solitude of a childhood afternoon. Her left hand settled on the keys, finding a simple, deep bass pattern. It was not a known piece. It was a slow, rising progression, each chord a door, opening into a room she had not known she inhabited. Then her right hand began to move. It started with a simple melody, a folk tune perhaps, but it immediately began to change, to evolve. She was not playing music. She was remembering Earth. The melody became the wind across prairie grasses. The syncopated rhythm became the patter of rain on a city awning. The deep bass notes were the slow turn of tectonic plates. Her touch, technically unrefined, was charged with a raw communicative power that bypassed skill entirely. The piano sang under her hands. It sang of human resilience, of the joy found in small moments, of the enduring ache of loss and the stubborn flame of hope. It was the sound of a species that had looked at the stars from the mud and had decided to reach for them. The human guests froze. A renowned concert pianist who had performed for system governors felt his breath catch. This was not virtuosity. This was something deeper, more fundamental. It was the soul of the instrument, and the soul of the player laid bare without filter. It was art in its most primal human form. The effect on the Eldereth was profound. Their species communicated nuance through harmonic resonance embedded in their speech. They perceived emotion as a tangible spectrum. The young woman's playing was a torrent, a hurricane of pure, unfiltered human experience. They did not hear a simple tune. They felt the coolness of shade on a summer day, the bitter warmth of a shared drink, the crushing loneliness of a crowd, the quiet triumph of a personal victory. It was chaotic, messy, overwhelming, and breathtakingly beautiful in its honesty. Their own music was a masterful, precise tapestry. This was a wildfire. The envoy's delicate hands trembled. Their companion, a noted Eldereth composer, had tears of shimmering liquid crystal tracing down their silver cheeks. They were not hearing music. They were witnessing a biography of a planet, written in sound. The gulf they had assumed existed between human art and their own was not a gulf of sophistication, but one of essence. Humanity did not refine their emotions into perfect patterns. They harnessed the storm itself and let it sing. The piece built, rising from its quiet beginnings to a crescendo that was not loud, but vast. It spoke of launch, of the terror and wonder of the void, not as a cold emptiness, but as a new kind of ocean. Then it slowly receded, the melody returning, changed now, touched with starlight and a gentle, longing wonder. It faded to a final resonant chord that hung in the air until the last vibration was absorbed by the silent room. The young woman took her hands from the keys. She blinked, returning to herself, suddenly aware of the oppressive quiet. Her cheeks were wet. She had not realized she had been crying. She braced for polite, pitying applause. It did not come. She looked up. The human concert pianist was staring at her, his face pale with the shock of revelation. The other artists looked similarly stunned. The Eldereth envoy was standing. The entire delegation had risen. Their expressive faces were a portrait of profound, world-altering shock. The envoy took a step forward, then another, moving with a reverence usually reserved for sacred sites. They stopped before the piano, then slowly extended a long, slender hand. They did not touch the woman. They hovered their fingers just above the wood of the instrument, as if feeling its residual heat. That, the envoy said, their voice a hushed, melodic tremor in the translator, was not a demonstration of sonic capability. They paused, searching for a concept their language could hold. You did not play an instrument. You introduced us. You introduced us to the human spirit. We have composed elegies for dying stars. We have never heard a song for a living world. We thought your art was simple. We were mistaken. It is elemental. The envoy finally looked at the young woman, their gaze holding a respect that had been absent before. You have a phrase. To speak from the heart. We did not comprehend it. Now we do. You have not just shared your culture. You have allowed us to witness its source. It is humbling. The young woman could find no words. She simply nodded, her throat tight. The rest of the gathering dissolved into a murmur of awe. The human diplomat watched, his strategic mind recalibrating. This changed everything. This was not a negotiation of technology or trade routes. This was a first contact of an entirely different kind. Later, as the event wound down, the Eldereth composer approached the piano. They looked at the keys for a long time. May I? They asked the young woman. She nodded. The composer said. Their fingers, so adept at controlling beams of light, settled on the ivory. They played a sequence of notes, perfectly timed, harmonically complex. It was technically flawless, ethereally beautiful, and utterly cold. They stopped and looked at their own hands as if they had failed. It is a key, they said softly, but you are the one who turns it. They rose and offered the bench back to her. This instrument is not for us. It is for you. It is a vessel, and you are the ocean it contains. The story spread from the Nexus. It was not a story of a great virtuoso, but of a xenobiologist who, for a few minutes, forgot everything but the feeling of home, and in doing so, redefined humanity's place in the galactic cultural landscape. She never played like that again, though she tried sometimes in private. The moment could not be recaptured. It was a single perfect communication dot, and across the stars, the Eldoreth spoke of humanity with a new tone. They no longer said humans were clever apes with clever tools. They said, be careful when you hear their music. Do not listen for the notes. Listen for the world behind them. Listen for the heart, and be prepared to be left aghast.